Hey guys, Air Codes here. Happy 4th of July. I'm on another one of my walks. So today's topic of conversation is I want to talk about experience with different coding languages. So I hit on it in one of my last videos where I talked about developers being stubborn, like not to be a stubborn developer and to embrace different things and embrace change. So as you guys know, if you're following this channel, that I am primarily a PHP JavaScript web developer. PHP mostly, JavaScript is what I first learned, and you need JavaScript in web development no matter what backend you're using, whether that's PHP, Python, JavaScript on the back end, obviously goes without saying, Ruby, C#, whatever it is, one way or another, you're going to need JavaScript. Even with things like where I think it's called Hotwire and all these different things, you're gonna need it. It's just good to have knowledge of it and use it. So, but that's besides the point. What I want to talk about today was this past week at work, I had to spend a lot of time in Python. Now, Python isn't something that I write a lot of, but what we're trying to do at the company is we are trying to create agents, basically bots that could do web input. So our company, we use for our case management system, we have a PHP, custom built system that keeps track of all the cases and stuff. And basically what we wanted to do was take a lot of the entry steps, because the company is growing pretty fast. And so we wanted to take a bunch of entry steps we wanted to take steps towards making entry faster and more scalable, because as the company grows, it's growing faster than we can hire and train people. So it makes sense to try and, develop some agents that can go and do this. Simple input, right? Like, the project I worked on this week was creating a bot. So I have this thing that basically is it's like an Outlook where it shows emails and stuff, but it automatically sorts the emails into different folders. It does a lot of different actions based on what the content of the email is, and it puts data into our system. It emails people back. It does all sorts of different things. But we wanted to do data entry. So one of the things that we get when it comes in needs to be answered. And the form needs to be filled out. So they send a link. The skinny of it is they send a link, and a person needs to click that link, go in, do some input, right? And then save the receipt of that input. And then that's it, right? And then delete the email. So we can do that, but we needed a different language to do that, okay? And I think this is where people get caught up in the best programming languages. I think sometimes when people are forming those statements, they're blanket statements. What do I mean by that? Well, when somebody says Python's better than PHP, for instance, first of all, I disagree. Full stop. I don't like writing Python code, and I'll get more into that, but they are different, right? So when people say, again, let's just take Python because that's the topic of the day. They say Python's the best coding language, and they have their reasons, but I think most of the time that blanket statement is because Python can be used in many different ways, okay? Python is used for machine learning and AI. It can be used as a web server with Flask, right? It can do a lot of different things. It can integrate with the file system and, create a whole bunch of different things. So Python is more versatile in the sense that it can do many more tasks. Where something like PHP, and for a long time, JavaScript, I mean, JavaScript still is kind of like this, but it's more for web development, right? PHP is phenomenal as a server-side web language. The best. Better than JavaScript, better than anything else. I will say Ruby. I do like Ruby a lot. So it's a caveat in saying Ruby is nice, but we're talking Python and PHP, so let's stay there. But again, PHP is meant as a web server-side language. That's what it's for. It's not meant to create an AI bot to go and do this stuff. It's not what it's for. It's for server-side web development. Okay? So when you take that in there, people say PHP sucks, or PHP or Python's a much better coding language. I think, I could be wrong, but I think what they're meaning is it can be used for more stuff. So you'll hear this a lot about C#, right? People are like, oh, C# is the best because you can do anything with it. Okay, yeah, great. You can do it with Python, you can do it with Java, so I think that's what they're talking about. And then take it a step further with Python is there are libraries to do everything. I mean, you name it, there's a Python library to do stuff. So I think people like the convenience of Python saying, well, I don't have to write and scaffold my own stuff. I can just go and use a library. Like, for instance, the bot I made used Selenium. Selenium is a Python library that basically allows for browser integration, right? Whole bunch of functions in there to say, we're gonna grab these things from the DOM or the shadow DOM, depending on what it could be. We're gonna take the information that I sent from PHP. So we took out information from the email thing that I was telling you about. We sent that to another PHP API that woke up the bot and sent the bot the information. Then the bot went and opened up the browser, opened up a new instance of the browser, went to the link, entered the information. It was told, there's certain things that we like to work with over others. So it looks and see what's available to be picked, and it picks a random one that we want to work with. And then if it can't find one that we want to work with, it follows back on like a medium tier one. And then if there's nothing else available, it takes what's there, which would be from our ones that we don't like. And so depending on if it was one that we liked or if we didn't like, then the script or the bot would basically be like, okay, there's different actions that we need to do. Once it completed everything, it gives you like a PDF receipt. We took that PDF receipt, we saved it, and then we moved it where it needed to go into our system. And that was all done through Python. So again, PHP couldn't do that. Just couldn't. No matter how much I love PHP, and I do, I love me PHP, it can't do it. It's not meant to do that. And I think, again, like I said, this is part of that divide or the misunderstanding of when people talk about coding language, because we've all been there when we first start, right? You get on Google, or now I guess you ask ChatGPT, whatever it is. And you get on there and you put in the search bar, best coding language or best beginner programming language or whatever it is. And you're gonna get a result. Like, oh, okay, let's try that. You try that thing. Then you watch another tutorial where someone says, no. Let's say you picked JavaScript and somebody on another tutorial says, no. The future is AI. You need to learn Python. And then again, rinse and repeat. It just keeps happening. And all it does for you as a developer is stalls you. It only slows you up in your development process. And I've said multiple times on this channel that pick the right tool for the job, the one that you like, and the one that's going to be best for what you need to do. Okay. And so again, the reason I like PHP so much is because number one, my job's in it. Number two, when I have a side business, and my side business is primarily custom WordPress sites, because that's what users want. Listen, guys, go out there and look. Try it. Try to go freelance. Nobody wants to not be able to control their content, even if they don't. Because a lot of my clients don't ever touch their content. They'll call me and be like, hey, do you mind doing it? It's like, fine, I don't care. But they have the ability to do it themselves. They just don't want to. But when you're selling it and when they're talking about it, it's a lot better when you say, hey, listen, we'll get the site developed, and then in this piece, the main portion, anything you want to do, you can develop in there, you can put in there. And you have a nice drag and drop basically thing that can do that. It's great. And so, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I don't know, I hate it. But my point is, PHP is what WordPress is in. It's what my job is in. So guess what? It's what I use, and I like it too, because I had a job at VBA, and I did not like it. I did another video about that not too long ago, but I didn't like VBA. I didn't like doing that. Now, that being said, I also don't like writing Python. Ugh. It is, again, I think the only thing that makes sense to me for the draw in it is that there are so many libraries, and that it can do, web servers, it can do AI, it can do a bunch of different things. I think that's the only thing it's got going for it, because, man, I do not like looking at Python code. For me, who primarily works with C-based languages, right? So my background is JavaScript, PHP, React and all the libraries that come along with it. And then things like, so a little bit of Java and C#, all of which are C-based languages, which basically means they're pretty similar, okay? To make a function, you use the word function. Define what you want the function to be called, put your little curly brackets in, and then pass in your parameters. And, there you go. You write your function, and then you reuse it where you need to reuse it. Now, the big thing for me was the curly braces, because it is so nice when you're looking at 1,000 lines, 2,000 lines of code to very easily be able to tell where something starts and something ends. Like where a loop begins and a loop finishes. It is so nice. You look, you see those curly braces, you know where the one opened up, you know where the one closed. Your IDE generally will tell you right where that stuff is. And yeah, sometimes it's not indented properly, but still you can get a general idea where you are in the code. With Python, it's all just indenting. And like the only way that you know something is ended is it indents back a little bit. So as I have been experiencing more and more Python code and more complex Python code, man, trying to find something is a nightmare. Like just looking through and logically following the code. Like I said, I don't know if it's Selenium that I was working with, but it seemed pretty verbose to me too, man. Like it just did not seem intuitive. The loops didn't seem intuitive. Like it just, needless to say, I was very happy to go back when I was done with the bot to send what the bot didn't need to do back to PHP and handle it there, because my God, it's so much better. So again, that's my experience. Some people might love it, and they probably love it because they're used to it, right? I'm not used to it. I'm not used to looking at things like that. Now, that being said, however, I'm also not used to Ruby code. And I like Ruby, man. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and it's very developer friendly. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping I can get a project soon in Ruby in Ruby on Rails, because it's just really nice to work with. You know, certain things like even just writing like a loop. Like, there's a functionality where you can say how many times you want something to go, right? So rather than like if you're writing a for loop in JavaScript, let's say, and you would say, you know, for open parentheses, let I equal 0, right? Then you have a semicolon, and then you say I is less than whatever thing that you're looping over. So let's say it's names. So you say you have an array of names. You say names.length, semicolon, and you say I plus plus. Then you open your brackets, and that's a for loop. Whereas in Ruby, you could say, I can't remember the syntax exactly, but I think it's like whatever your thing is, dot times, and pass in how many times you want that thing to run. That's it. You know, I mean, you have your brackets. You have do and end. You know, which basically use do instead of open curly bracket and end instead of closed curly bracket. But tell you what, man, Ruby is very nice, and you know, to me, that might be the only thing that could get me off the PHP. You know, for a back-end web language. JavaScript doesn't do it for me. Like Node, sorry, the NPM and the package management and all that other stuff, no, not for me. Python, I haven't really given it a fair chance as a website language, because I didn't use it for website languages, but I wouldn't use it, you know, unless I had to, you know. But it's anything website that PHP can do, or that Python can do, PHP can do it, and I think does it better. So probably will never use Python for anything but like creating a bot, because again, I needed it to use Selenium. But anyways, that's my take. You might love Python, and that's great. You go, and that's why PHP, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, all these things exist, right? They're meant for different things, for different purposes, for different people. And who am I to be like Python sucks? Because it doesn't. I needed it, right? Like, I don't like it, but when push came to shove, I needed it. PHP couldn't do it. So anyways, I think that's my take today on this beautiful 4th of July. Yeah, I mean, again, it just, you got to find what you want to do. You got to get out of the stubbornness thing. Like I said, I needed Selenium. I needed to use Python. No matter how stubborn I was, I'm sure I probably could have found something that could have done something similar in a really back-asswards way with PHP or JavaScript or something. I'm sure there was. But the fastest, most logical thing to do was to use Python. So I did, you know, and in that, you know, learned more, got more experience, and can deliver this take where I can officially say, hey, I don't really like Python, but I can use Python. I could use it if push comes to shove and I need it. So anyways, that's my take today. I don't know what I'll call this video. It's always the hardest thing coming up with a title for a video, because it's like I hit on so much different stuff that, like, what's the main meat and potatoes here of what we're trying to say. And I think, you know, that has to be kind of an extension of the last video, where, like, don't be stubborn, learn how to use other languages, and you'll find what you like, and use the right tool for the job. You know, I think that's kind of where I'll end it here, and I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Again, this is Eric Codes. See you next time.